All right, welcome everyone to Danger Level 2, Decktamer tier lists. We start with Alpino. Alpino, garbage. I guess, yeah, Alpino, you rarely want to catch it. And this guy's even worse. You don't want to fight him, you don't want to catch him. Duck Nuck, garbage. Yeah, this is gonna be there's gonna be a theme here. A lot of tier 2s that are just not worth touching. Fayed Uh, let's see here. I'm going to put them in solid. Ever since they boosted the speed of all the torpidity users by 2, they've all been very solid. They can pretty much all 2 turn sleep whatever's in front of them. And now that it can outspeed things, I mean, 4 is not a ton of speed, but it's pretty good. Now you want the variant that has the 2 armor ability. It's kind of like the snake, the Quetzi. You get 2 armor. If you can outspeed, you can just tank a 2 damage hit. But it's even better because not only do you get 4 uses of it, so 4 turns worth of tanking, you also get 2 torpidity on everything, which can put the whole board to sleep if you just sit there long enough. It can also synergize with your ants if you have ants, so that part's good. And then, it's there is kind of a torpidity deck. It's not as developed as the speed down deck, but you can definitely combine sleeping spores with other stuff later. On the Fade Arm itself, it's not that great, but if you have ants, it gets a lot better, and it gets a lot better down the line with things like, well, sadistic for 1, and the cavern creepers for 2. Chasm creepers, the big bugs with the human faces. Ghost Fox, garbage. Now there is a combo, so you could entertain putting it into tech investment, but the combo is very long and convoluted. And I've done it once. I don't want to do it again. It's actually kind of a hassle to execute as well. But the combo is you get one of them that has draw on placement, draw on retreat ability, and then another one has the doesn't use a whistle to retreat ability. You get both of those abilities on the same creature. Then you get a ping, like the frog's ping, for example, a 1 damage hit, or you can use any other kind of damage on entry. Put that on the same creature. Then you clone the creature, and then you have a creature that you put it in, it draws a card, you retreat it for free, and then it'll have drawn its counterpart. And the counterpart, you put that in, you ping forever. So if you want to try and set that up, be my guest. I do not speculate on this unless I'm really desperate. And I'm putting it right in garbage. I'll put it at the top of garbage. You know what? I'll give it a bit of respect. It's better than Alpino. It's better than Bulbfish. So there, that's the best it gets. Garbage. You just don't want to bother with this thing. There's no redeeming qualities. I don't remember its name. Gamersa, that's what it's called. All right, here we go. We got some good stuff here. I'm going to put this guy up in essential role. The Hollow Ape, when it has nap. Caveat, when it has nap. Some of the best stuff you can do is just to tank and heal. And it gets even better when you have Lullaby. In fact, it becomes pretty premium when you have Lullaby. But even without Lullaby, I would put it up here. Essential role. You want to grab it. Very, very good. Not much else to say about that. The Salamander. Irontail Salamander. That's a tech. And the specific tech that I would look for is Tail Shelter. There's kind of a baseline of like a 2 damage hit that is the norm for the first 3 to 4 battles. And if you have a thing that can block a 2 damage hit, you basically have that lane solved. Now the advantage of the Tail Shelter is because it's defense. You can be fighting 3 different creatures that all have 2 damage hits, and he can tank the whole board and just sit there. And sometimes you want to do that. There are other variants of varying usefulness. Once in a blue moon, you might want the cold-blooded, but for the most part, you just want Tail Shelter. And if it doesn't have Tail Shelter, ignore it. And if it does have Tail Shelter, I would say you'd still need a real reason. Either you have no other way of stalling, or you have farming you want to do. Farming includes item generation, but also healing, or using charm on an enemy, Any situation where you want to prolong the game and stall it for some resource value, that's farming. And he's a very good farmer, but he's not great at much else. Look for tail shelter and consider if you need it. Jelly Mim, garbage. We have Carabeetle. Carabeetle is quite versatile in certain situations. I'm going to put him in tech. Most of the time, like, his body's terrible. So you're going to have to want either his ability, Devil's Advocate, which has a couple of combos. I'll go over them in a sec. Or his attack. The main attack you're looking for is Double Bite. Just 2 damage twice. It's a lot of damage. It's a double hit, which is always something you want to seek out for damage scaling later on. And then Charm. He also has access to Charm. Other than the Lumi, this is the only other guy who has Charm. I've been so high on Charm lately. I've picked this guy up for the Charm alone. And it'll pay off. You spend, even if you spend your last vegetable on him, he can allow you to catch things that like vegetables later with non-vegetable food. So it's probably worth it. If you see a Charm one, only about half of them have Charm. But Devil's Advocate is the main draw. Devil's Advocate has the 2 main uses, I would say, for Devil's Advocate. The first is poo. If you can find a poo monkey, mono, defecate, build up some poo, and then you just throw the poo on him, and he gets +2 defense per poo. Similar to the tail shelter, but better. Just use 1 poo or even 2 poos in a hallway fight and have the whole fight solved. A couple of the bosses, particularly the eye, is solved by the poo on the Carabeetle is enough. Colossus 2 is the other boss that, if you have enough poo, you throw 10 poo on the Carabeetle and the Colossus can't touch you because you have 20 defense. Doesn't matter what you do. Now, poo beats the Colossus even without Devil's Advocate, so that's less of an accomplishment. If you have 20 poo, you can probably just throw it on the Colossus and kill him. But against the eye, it's kind of a free win against the eye. The other bosses, they all kind of scale in certain ways that he can't do it alone. But it's a very good combo to have. The other combo is the Mushroom event in particular. So normally he's a 4/4. You take the Mushroom event. Mushroom event will always give you Timid, at least in the current build. And Timid is -2 attack damage. So on Devil's Advocate, that's +2 attack damage. You combine that specifically with the Double Bite, you're dealing 8 damage, and you're 7 HP, 7 speed. That's pretty good. That's a late game creature. That's about the level of a wild 4-star creature for an event that normally you would get a curse for it, and the curse is beneficial. Even if it doesn't have the Double Bite, if it just has like Body Slam, it's still worthwhile. 5 damage. And then there are other things you can do with Devil's Advocate. You can just extract the Devil's Advocate and you can apply it to other things that happen to get curses. Like a clone usually ends up with the minus defense curse, and you can turn that into plus defense. So there's another use for it. Some enemies will debuff you. You can throw this in front of it and you get buffed. But it's not usually as big of a game plan outside of the poo or the mushroom event, which you could speculate on, or better yet is if you find the mushroom event in the same fight as this guy, then it's definitely worth it. One thing to watch out for is the Scourge attack. It's terrible. You're basically dealing 1 damage to yourself every time you attack. It makes him hard to fight, hard to catch. So the Scourge will poison you and your opponent. So it's basically a 4 damage attack that also deals 1 to you. And it goes through defense. So that's by far the worst variant. But even then, it might be worthwhile. Mostly you want him for his defensive ability. So that's my long diatribe on the Carabeetle. Grab it if you think you can use any of its attacks or ability. Otherwise, just kill it because its body is very bad. 4/4. Not worthwhile. The Lily Goose. I'm going to put him in solid support. Well, if he has Crafty, I could see putting him up here. Yeah, we'll go with the best variant that you can get. Crafty Lily Goose can be a healer for the whole team. Now, it depends on what that team has access to in terms of status moves, but there's quite a few like very innocent looking status moves. Think of the Orcaril. He's got his illumination move. You've got the cat, the shell cat with his defense move that can infinitely heal alongside Crafty. So it's very good for farming up HP on a lot of your guys. Even if it's not infinite use, you can heal up, let's say 3 HP per fight. On something that can't normally heal, that's incredible. So Crafty is the main thing you're looking for. Other than that, Herb Finder is quite good. It's just more healing. Item farming in general is very good. It's probably the worst of the item farming moves. It's still very good. I guess self-sacrifices may be worse, but it's still very much worth the investment. Herb finding. Submerge, very good tanking ability. It's kind of temporary. I don't think I would catch one if it had Submerge and nothing else. And the same goes for Rock Collector. If you see Rock Collector, it's a good thing to have. Having access to a rock can be very useful later, but you really don't want it just for the rock. You kind of want it because it has Herb Finder, or you can take one without Herb Finder because it has Crafty. But I wouldn't take one with neither Herb Finder or Crafty, I don't think. Maybe in a pinch I'd take a Rock Finder Submerge. But the best variant, the Crafty variant, is almost universally takeable. The only time I wouldn't take it, assuming I had the food for it, I wouldn't take it if none of my guys had the ability to take advantage of the Crafty. So let's say I started with Lantern Hound and Ants. None of them can use a status move, so you're not getting any value out of Crafty. But yeah, in almost every situation, worth grabbing. Maniarak. I'm going to put him a reliable filler, although he's not that reliable. He has a couple good abilities that I would say are just under the threshold of being worth a syringe. I mean, both of them make him a lot harder to fight. He is kind of a hassle to fight. And neither of them is quite worth syringing. He doesn't have a lot of staying power. He doesn't have a lot of speed. His offense is pretty reliable, but for the most part, you plan to trade him off and not really invest in him. But he's fine. He's better than garbage. Mimilang. Am I going to put him in run carry? I don't think so. He's the best thing we've seen so far in Danger Levels 1 and 2. Mimilang is hands down incredible. He's a Swiss Army knife. He can help you farm. He can heal himself if you have another healer. Imitator itself can be put on other things later in the game to multiply your value. He can be a sleeper. If you have another sleeper that's slower, now you have a fast sleeper. You have a fast attacker. The body is just right. 6 speed, just enough for the part of the game that you're at. If you can find one with 7 speed, you're golden. And one with 4 HP also would be very nice, especially if you have healing. He can do so much, so don't sleep on Mimilang. I would say this is, up to this point, the most essential creature we have. Not quite run carrier level, because you do obviously need something for him to copy. And maybe the best thing you can copy is with the whale. We'll get to the whale in a little bit. But he unlocks a whole tech tree worth of crazy advanced, powerful things. Next, Wormnewt. Quite good. Maybe even above the Hollow Ape. He doesn't heal, and his body's nothing to write home about. But the combination of his ability and jump scare is what you're looking for. If he doesn't have jump scare, don't bother. But anything slower than it, than this creature will be jump scared and deal 0 damage, or it'll deal 2 less damage. So he holds down a lane with like a slow guy very efficiently, and permanently disabling the attack of the opponent is a key component to farming, especially if you're farming items. You can slow down and control the battle, and he unlocks a whole range of more advanced farming techniques. So definitely worth the investment, assuming he has the jump scare. Namorphid. I would call him low on the tech investment scale. He is the one you're looking for is the one with evolution and mutated strike. If it doesn't have those, there's two other variants, and neither of them is very good. The body is terrible, so preferably you'll have extra speed, extra HP on the one you catch. But the evolution ability, you can get some high rolls. You can get some pretty decent moves. Anything from sleep to healing to a lot of damage. And his mutated strike will go up every time you use it. So he kind of scales into the mid game. And he gets way, way better when he's copied by Mimelang. I'm going to bring up Mimelang a lot because Mimelang takes advantage of all of the broken things that any individual monster does and does it better. It's like you more than double what you have with the Morphid if you have a Mimelang. Now the Mimelang, the Morphid's body is terrible. So he gets a lot better if you can find ways to boost his attack and speed. Like the mushroom event, the tree event, the metabolism event. But before you invest in any of those, he does take some investment. You have to farm his ability, and you have to have nothing better going on, basically, because you don't want to invest too many resources in him when he can do a mediocre job of what a better monster can do. But when the stars align, he can bring a run home. So he gets to stay in tech investment. The Orcaril. I'm going to put him in solid support, maybe even above the Feodarm. So you can get food from this guy. Most of the time you'll get food. You can also get items, and here's the key. You can get syringes. Syringe limits are one of the biggest bottlenecks of a lot of runs, where there's a lot of things you want to combine, and you can only do so much. And you're going to have to give up a lot of value at the end of the game because you couldn't combine some key things, take them off of weaker monsters and put them on your strongest monster. So if you can swing an extra syringe, this guy pays for himself. And most of the time he pays for himself if you can find any food. Like the first food that you get from him will pay for the food that you spent catching him, right? His body's not bad for this level of the game. 5 speed and 3 damage. That's pretty decent. It doesn't have a lot of staying power, so what you'll want to generally be doing is you weaken your enemy with the first hit. Maybe you have a Hellrat, gets in there for 2, and then next turn you send him in and finish off with a 3 hit and get the kill registered on his scavenger ability. You'll want him to see your own creatures dying. When you're fighting him, you might want to feed him weaker creatures, especially ones that you don't expect that will last very long in the next fight, like a 1 HP Hellrat, or anything that you would cut from the deck, you'd rather feed it to him and let him see it. Up to 4. You don't want him to his ability to hit 5 while he's not on your team. So that's one way to farm him for extra value before you catch him. So yeah, would recommend. Theopoda. Fantastic. If it has flu, it is the best combination of tank and control piece of the tier, because it can basically jump scare like a Wormnewt with flu, but it can also heal like a Nap. It can't heal infinitely. It has to stay in and use its move. So that's the downside. The upside is that you can copy his healing move with Mimelang and heal your Mimelang. And then you can also use a Mimelang to get a faster flu. So once again, Mimelang takes your strongest monster and makes it better. But Theopoda, even if it doesn't have flu, it's still a solid... I don't know if it's quite solid support. It's probably a reliable filler, but it's very reliable. It sits there. It takes hits. It snoozes 4 HP in a single turn. It'll help you win mid-game fights. But you definitely prefer... if you see a flu variant, grab it. Pillar Pole. You could say it's low tech. I'm not even going to put it in low tech. That's filler. I don't think I'd syringe anything on the Pillar Pole. I've had some good runs with the Pillar Pole, particularly its encouragement, where it gives +4 attack for a single turn. Can combo well with some things, like the Blood Grub. It can let the Blood Grub heal for a huge amount. It can combo with a double hit, with a hits all lanes, or even just a fast sweeper. It's relevant for a few battles, but its low stats let it down. Fortress is okay. You can definitely combine it later on with status moves to make a very resilient monster. But generally, the best defense is a good offense in the later game. And I wouldn't want to invest more than a single syringe into a monster's survivability. So you'd be better off syringing on something like Vampirism or Regenerator or even Nap than trying to combine Fortress and some kind of healing or some kind of status. But it's alright. Like, it's fine. It's not garbage. Monitor, I would put this probably below. It does have one bit of tech investment. If it has the talent that lowers its opponent's speed by 2, you can combo it with the Slusher and its Snow Cover. You can combo it with the Killamaro and Ice Leech. And you can combo it with the Pulro and Frigid. So it has some uses. Generally, it's not a key component. It's more of a secondary component. I would say if you've already got multiple pieces, consider it. Particularly Snow Cover. You can combine Snow Cover with it, and it does an imitation of like a Tail Shelter. But there are better ways to make all of those other abilities work, and I would generally relegate it down to filler. Maybe a little better than the Pillar Pole, maybe a little worse. It has its discharge ability. It has, it can deal decent damage, but it's pretty mediocre. It's like a Maniarch kind of dumb beater most of the time. So, not generally worth investing. Just take note it has potential in that given deck. Now, Porpid. Porpid, assuming it's the Tremor Sense variant, it has a very good combo with the Trench Crawler. It scales very fast. You combine Sightless Swipe with Tremor Sense on the same monster, even on the same team. Tremor Sense just has to be out on the battlefield somewhere. And then every time you use Sightless Swipe, it will hit for X number of times and essentially double the number of hits next time. And it scales very well in boss fights in particular. It's very awkward to use outside of boss fights, and even getting the combo is kind of a hit or miss. So if you take it, it's more of a risk-reward gamble. You don't bet your entire farm on it. Take it speculatively if you can afford it. Unfortunately, the creature is not very good. It's got the same stats as the Orcaril, except it does a lot less damage, unless it somehow gets some support. Now, there's another variant of Porpid, and they go very well together. So if you can get one and you use Courtship to find the other one, or you just happen to catch the other one, they work very well together as well. But even then, in a lot of situations, it's not very granular. You don't have a lot of control over the game. It might be all right to completely sweep 3 creatures, and sometimes you want to do that, but it's not very good for catching, and they're very delicate. They don't have a lot of HP. So I would personally stick to the Tremor Sense variant as a speculation for Trench Crawler. And that's about all it's good for. Shroomazard. trash, garbage. Slusher. It's kind of in the same. I would put it at least in this level. Having the defensive ability is more important. It's the more important piece, particularly because you don't need a syringe for it to be good. Assuming you have the Kilomaro, you can combine the Kilomaro with this guy and have kind of a build your own tail shelter. And it can even attack. And it can even outspeed things. It has 2 speed, which is not great, but it can outspeed some things. Use its chill wind and then take 0 damage on the way back, sometimes. So in a pinch, you know, use it. I wouldn't really build around it most of the time, but it can do some work. Maybe it's better in filler, like put it in high filler, because I think it does fall off. I guess you could say the same about the tail. I don't know. I'll put it in here. I'll put it in tech. Spine hog, garbage. Spore plant. Spore plant. I love spore plant. Particularly, I love vile spores. I'm going to put it up in a central role. The reason vile spores is so good is because it acts like a flu or a jump scare, but it hits every lane. So it's, if you use it in the left lane, you can jump scare something in the right lane, and then the thing in that lane is taking less damage. Obviously the downside, it has 0 speed. It's never outspeeding anything, unless you happen to have speed control like the Shellcat, for example. But for the most part, it has 0 speed. It's going to be taking hits. It doesn't have healing, and it also gets put to sleep by vile spores. So you can't just constantly do it. Now, if you have Mimilang, once again, Mimilang makes all your best stuff better, and it makes vile spores better because you can go 1-2 punch. You can Mimilang and outspeed in vile spores, and that's a lot better. If you chain the vile spores, the second vile spores is going to be essentially 1 speed faster because the first one also slows the enemy down. Vile spores can be part of the combo with things like Kilomaro, with things like Slusher. And it helps you farm. You can shut down a whole row of enemies in 1 turn if you have 2 vile spores going. It also works very well with things like Resentful. You can put the opponent to sleep with Resentful. You can keep yourself awake with things like Abyss Cure, or wake yourself up with Curing Bristles. So it's a very interesting, versatile effect with lots of knobs. It deals 0 damage, unlike Jump Scare, so you can pretty much disable any enemy if you have enough turns. Very, very good farming tool. The monster itself is a little slow, weak. Doesn't last very long. Not a lot of staying power, which is why it's below these two. And it does need some support. Now, there are variants that come with pheromones as well, and that's just a little extra bonus. But totally not necessary. The only necessary thing is Vile Spores. If you can see it, Vile Spores, grab it. Swordbird. Yeah, it's filler. In lower difficulties, I have used this as an endgame sweeper. It's fast. It's fast for the mid game. It's not that great. It has hot-blooded sometimes, and you can do some things with that. I generally wouldn't spend any syringes on it if I'm doing a boss rush. So it's good enough to not be garbage. Once in a while, you'll take it. It's kind of like a Silver Hornet in terms of its attack power, but it's harder to catch and generally less worth it. Harder to catch, easier to just say, oh, I'll just kill it then. If I'm taking a hit for 3, I may as well just kill it. So, and sometimes it doesn't even deal 3 damage. Different variants will deal. I think there's a Fast Predator variant as well. That might be the best one. Momentum. So if it has Momentum Fast Predator, dealing 3 and then 5. Although it might be a deal 2 and then 5. Or deal 2 and then 4, which is not nearly as good. Fast Predator has some potential. It works well with things like Turbo, Rush, which come for free on your starters sometimes. It works well with Plant of Might. So then each fruit will give +4 attack instead of +2. For the most part, it's kind of a niche way to scale damage. There's another way to get it, which is on the Wind Gull. And the Wind Gull is very similar. It's got a similar body, a little better, but for the most part, not something I generally invest in. All right, here we go. Here's our first run carrier. So I'm going to put Skywell up here, or Tadwhale. What can I say about Tadwhale? You take it, you see it, you win the run, basically. You see it, it's very hard to lose the run. You have to go out of your way to lose the run if you take Skywell. The base creature you get from it, assuming you know how to farm it up to 20 HP, will beat almost all the bosses, almost on its own. It needs a little help in the last fight against the Lost Explorer. And obviously, Colossus, you're going to need additional firepower, ways to sleep it and stuff. But it'll be the bulk of your offensive and defensive core, and it'll carry you through the rest of the fights in the hallways as well. So it's pretty incredible. It's incredibly one-sided once you get it. You do need two. You need 2 battles to farm it up so that you can evolve it, but that's not that hard to do. Assuming you can have even a modicum of control over the fights. And that's at its base level. So beyond the base level, there's other things you can do with the Tadwhale, and we can go over them later, but the big one is Imitator. If you can imitate the ascension of the Tadwhale, you can basically create Eyes of the Abyss. What are they called? You can create the first boss. You can create the minions of the first boss, and you can create the first boss. And you can do the same with a Silver Beetle. If you have a Silver Beetle, you can use a syringe to make an abomination, and then you can make an eye. I'll go into it in more detail when we get to those monsters in particular, but basically it's kind of win more. So once you find the whale, consider the run pretty much won, and then you can win in more style by copying its ability, making an eye, and just stomping everything. Tuba Bear. Tuba Bear goes in solid support. It has Herb Finder, sometimes similar to the Lily Goose, but Herb Finder on its own, certainly worth catching, but it doesn't get crafty. In exchange, it can do more damage. It can hit all lanes sometimes. It can deal like 3 damage chunks with poison, but generally not as, like if you have the choice, you pick a crafty over Herb Finder. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers, and if that's your source of herb finding, then it works. The Wind Gull, I would say it's like maybe slightly better than the Swordbird. Maybe it's a little better than these guys. It's a very good body. One thing in particular that this excels at, and to a lesser extent the Swordbird, they excel at the events that you can either swap your stats or you can make an amalgamate using its speed. So you just combine it. It contributes 9 speed. The other monster contributes everything else, the big HP, either attack power or tank power. Or if you just want to swap its stats onto like something that has a sleep move or pushback or something, you get rid of the resulting leftover bird and you have a fast control piece or a fast damage even worthwhile. So that's the main investment I would make for these. Otherwise, they're not. I would even put it in tech because it's not doing any damage. This guy can actually do some damage once in a while. This guy's only if you want either his body or sometimes you might want either like a fast predator that he gets or the other one that gives the priority bunny swiftness ability to its slowest team member. That can be useful. Generally, not something I'd spend syringes on. It's mostly for his 3/9 speedy butt. And we have the Woolly Boy. Woolly Boy has been a lot improved since it got its 3 damage stomp as its default attack. And I will actually catch these. I'm tempted to put it here based on how often I catch it. I'm just going to stick it here though. At its heart, it is just reliable filler, but it's pretty good filler because if it has the passive aggressive, it comes in with 6 speed and deals 3 damage. And that's better than most things at tier 2. And then the next turn it gets defense, which has its own benefits. So it would be better if it was the other way around. If it came with defense first and then got the speed on turn 2, it would be better, but it might be too good, right? It might be even more annoying to fight too. Although maybe not. So take it if you need just something to trade off, trade some blows, catch some other stuff, deal some damage. And that about does it. That's not very many tier 2s. I thought that we had more. But yeah, that's about it. So thanks for watching, and I hope this knowledge was helpful in some way. And I'll be back later for Danger Level 3. Take care, and signing off.